Welcome, everybody, to the Sunday edition of the Freedom Link here on the Orion Talk Radio Network. And, of course, tonight is the Conspiracy Chronicles. And boy, oh boy, do we have a show for you. Because tonight, Gwen Caldwell and myself will be discussing the 2012 Olympics opening ceremonies. I mean, absolutely, I'll tell you, Gwen, I'm beside myself with what I witnessed in the aftermath. We didn't get to see it live on TV, of course. They wouldn't show that. But they most certainly outdid themselves, more so than I've ever seen them outdo themselves before. I thought the Super Bowl was like the crown achievement of Illuminati symbolism, and then I saw this.
No kidding. No kidding.
Yeah.
Why, Joe, at an event that is a worldwide peaceful event, the most televised event in history, with a young participation group, and other young people watching their peers in the Olympics and all of this, why in God's name would they do something like this that is so deathly, no vitality, no life, nothing positive for the future? It's just it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Now, folks, before we get really deep into this conversation, I just want to bring this up to you guys because this is really interesting. You can now follow Orion Talk Radio on Twitter. That's right. Anybody out there that has a Twitter account, you can follow us. We're at Orion Talk Radio. And you can follow all of our tweets as far as what we're doing, what we're saying, some of the articles that we're putting out and posting. We definitely put out a lot of good information. And tonight is no different because tonight we're going to be breaking down the Illuminati symbolism within the Olympic opening ceremony. And then tonight we're also going to be discussing the fact that the police and the military and the Department of Homeland Security in this country have really ramped up their preparations for civil unrest. And I've been seeing a lot of back chatter about this topic. So we're going to get into that as well. So, I mean, this is a full night of radio. And remember, Orion Talk Radio, like my buddy Popeye and Down the Rabbit Hole, and fantastic show tonight, my friend, as far as the going off and ranting's concerned. That was one of your better shows. But we're going to be taking conspiracy theory and making it, by the end, we will make it conspiracy fact. So let us get into it, shall we, Gwen? The first thing that I want to talk about is anybody that doesn't know Cliff High. Cliff High is the creator of the WebBot. Now, and the folks that have followed me for a long time know that I'm really not too keen on the WebBot or what Cliff High has to say. But, sometimes he does put out some really interesting information. And, Gwen, when you forwarded this to me, I'm like, oh, God, Cliff High, damn it. But to be honest with you, his little blog post here actually, it hits home. I mean, it hits a home run, I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, he labels this thing Gosh and Golly. And again, for anybody that knows Half Past Human knows that he has a very interesting way of writing these things. But it says, just had seen a few minutes, outtakes, of Her Satanic Majesty's XXX Olympic Games opener. What a show! Well, while the point of the show was the retelling of history of the world as we see it and want you to believe it, and while this was certainly the most costly component of the huge ritual presentation, the real point is the whole gosh invocation ritual. Absolutely full of Illuminati NWO symbolism, as the main performance and script is, without a doubt, the whole meaning encapsulated within the ritual in which the, quote, nurses are shown against the ritual, euphemistic, name of God equals gosh, and within this parade of the calling, in parentheses, invoking, are the children who are being offered as a sacrifice to the god of the NWO Satanic Majesty Illuminati. Further readings into the symbolism within just this segment suggest that all the fears about bombs in London will likely be unfounded, as the plan they are announcing that they have chosen is to use the games to release a pandemic that will put the young and healthy, in parentheses, look into the juxtaposition of the hospital beds as trampolines, and energetic exercise, play, and game tools into hospitals en masse. So, likely the plan was put into motion with the ringing of the bell, which will lead to an opening of the book of the dead or soon to be dead, and that inevitably leads to the snuffing of the candle. Again, seems as though they're using the London Games as a dispersal point, and that they will likely not have any, quote, serious terror or military problems at the Games, as they need everyone to make it home safely. After all, can't have a pandemic without carriers, and if you're targeting young and healthy, who better epitomizes that image than Olympic athletes? So what's your thoughts on what Cliff High had to say?
Well, I'm telling you, I think it's in the ballpark. I think he's on to something. Because this, the sickness in it, and dead or sick people laying in hundreds of hospital beds, and all the, it's just, I'm telling you, I can't remember the last time something blew me away.
Yeah, no,
like
I agree with you. I agree with you, Gwen. I mean, can you believe how sick, not only sick, but just how overt and out front this is? I mean, you're talking center stage of the biggest worldwide event that happens. I mean, this is it. The Olympic Games. Every country's represented there. I mean, it's like the UN athletic. You know what I mean?
Right. They basically have an unlimited budget to do the opening ceremonies in whatever way they feel. And to do it with such darkness and sickness is just totally beyond me. In a room full of peaceful, I don't know. It's so like the murals on the wall at Denver Airport.
Yeah.
You know, what is the purpose? Who is this message for? Is it for the world? Is it for the athletes? Is it a signal to, for, their group of people all over the world to do something? What the hell is it?
I don't know, Gwen, but I'll tell you this. Once I started reading Cliff's take on things, I did a little research, folks, and you'll be floored to find out what it is I found when we come back after these messages. So don't go away, folks. You're listening to the Freedom Links Conspiracy Chronicles on the Orion Talk Radio Network. We'll be right back. Welcome back, folks. Now, if you notice, Orion Talk Radio's had a facelift. But that's not that's only like part one in the facial reconstruction surgery of Orion. So just be patient with us as we get the experience. We try to optimize the experience. And also, Orion Talk Radio's kind of raised the bar. So here, coming up in the next month and a half or so, the Freedom Link will have its own website, like a real one. I don't know. It's just that IT crap. I try to stay away from it as much as I can. But that's going to happen here in the next month and a half. So sit tight and stay tuned for that. So Joseph and Gwen Caldwell here, we're discussing the Illuminatiism that is pervasive in this opening ceremony thing. And Gwen, so I was digging and snooping around right after this half-past human thing, and I found out that Ugandan authorities did not initially detect a Ebola outbreak because patients weren't showing typical symptoms of the lethal virus. Ebola? Really? Anybody that doesn't know what Ebola is hemorrhagic fever. But when I say deadly strain of hemorrhagic, I mean deadly. This is the kind of stuff. Do you remember that movie Outbreak, Gwen?
Oh, yep. Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what it was? It was Ebola.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, that is just nasty. So what you have is you have this ritual, right, that goes and talks about like a pandemic type scenario. And now all of a sudden you have an outbreak of Ebola in Uganda. So I have a homework assignment for all the listeners out there tonight. And that is because I did not have time to do this. But can we find out who was visiting Uganda or the surrounding areas from the United States or anywhere else? Find out who's visited, any dignitaries, anybody, and see if we can find out if they be bringing this back to the U.S. And you know, Gwen, I don't think they necessarily need a carrier because a lot of that stuff is formulated right out of Fort Detrick's here in the United States. You know,
Yep.
So I mean,
Yep.
now is it out of the realm of possibility? Let me ask you something. Is it out of the realm of possibility that they hype this Ugandan outbreak and then say, well, Joe Schmuckatelli brought it back when he was on his way from, Uganda to Missouri. But, I mean, with chemtrails over the head every day, you never know what they spray. You don't know what they're doing to you. We go on about our lives as if nothing's going on. Isn't that right, Gwen?
Well, that's right. You know, Joe, the thing about that is when they had all those deaths, a year and a half ago in the Ukraine, they had sprayed above them the chemtrails, and they knew it. And they knew 365 people died or something from some flu. And we don't know at what point in time that some mad person within the government or in the military or some mad scientist isn't going to fill some tank that's going to be sprayed with a deadly virus or Ebola or, we don't have any control. We don't know what they're spraying at any given time that they're spraying on us. So that could be very widespread.
You are so right on that. And folks, just so you know, Michael Murphy, he just came out with a brand new documentary. So check it out. It's Why in the World Are They Spraying? And he actually gets into that question, Gwen. Why? Why are they doing this? And what can they get away with? That's my question, because really, if you think about it, the possibilities are endless. They have set this up now, and it's taken decades to do this, but they are at their point. I swear to you, 2012, when the Mayans were talking about, the end of an age, I truly believe this is it. This is showtime for the Illuminati, for the NWO. This is their year. This is when they have to do it. Not just in a physical sense, because you have a mass of people kind of waking up, but I kind of feel like this is their time because we're going from one age to the next. There's a lot of things that happen on this earth and in our existence that cannot be explained in a physical manner. There are spiritual things that happen, both good and both evil, that occur. And times and where you are in the universe, all of that stuff play into it. And believe me, these, what's a good word for them, Gwen?
Asshats.
Thank you. These asshats are very plugged in. Maybe on the wrong side, but they're plugged in. So don't think they're not. And this is it. If you guys can't see the writing on the wall, I mean, I don't know what there is. Even so, I mean, even you even have Scalia, Antonin Scalia, talking about there could be civil unrest before the elections. They're pushing us, man. They are pushing us, and they're pushing the United States. Do you want to know why they're pushing the United States? Because they know that the United States is the first and only country that can defeat them. Because we're the only ones left with guns. So we're going to be the ones that take it in the shorts first. Ain't that right, Gwen?
Well, I think they're not. I don't think what we're going to see is an outright assault. I think what we're going to see is a crippling of sorts. And it'll be one crippling after the other. First they'll break your knees, and then they'll break your elbows, and then they'll bash your head.
Oh, mafia style.
But I think what we're going to start seeing is one thing after another, and it's going to be shocking. You know, they're really into the shock value because it instills fear, and they feed on it. And what I want to tell people is that every single one of you listening to this, anyone who listens in the archives, you absolutely, unequivocally must get oregano oil capsules. You must get food grade, 32% food grade hydrogen peroxide, and you must get colloidal silver. Those three things will cure damn near anything that these people can throw at us. And you need to have it. Another thing I would recommend is bentonite clay. And if you say you can't afford it, I'm here to tell you it could cost you your life in less than 2 months.
Yeah. No,
that's the bottom line. I mean, that's how damn serious I believe that things are at this point. There's no more messing around, people.
No, we're right. We're right.
You need to wake up.
Yeah, we're ripe for something, Gwen. But you said it best. You know, these people feed on fear, because fear, in a spiritual sense, right, in a universal sense, fear gives off a certain energy, and these people eat it up. They do. They eat it up. I know it sounds batshit crazy, but I'm being totally honest with you. They thrive on it, and the more fear that you feel in your heart, the more they get stronger, the more they get cockier, and the harder they push, the more overt they are, because they know. They know.
Joe, that's just like the shooting in Colorado. You know, they're upping the ante. We're all supposed to be shocked, but what do we find out within 48 hours? The dad's in the CIA. He's in psychiatric hospital or treatment at the Air Force. You know, all this stuff comes up.
Hold that thought. Let's go to break. When we come back, we'll talk about that, because, Gwen, you hit a very good point there. Folks, you're listening to the Conspiracy Chronicles on the Orion Talk Radio Network. We'll be right back. Welcome back, folks. The email address to the broadcast is thefreedomlink@centurylink.net. That's thefreedomlink@centurylink.net. Joseph and Gwen Caldwell here. We're discussing this ritualistic ceremony called the London Olympics opening ceremony. And Gwen, you got into a good point about that shooting. I mean, really, that shooting was a ritualistic killing. It was. I mean, even if the guy didn't mean it, you know, but you look into it, it is dirty.
Right. All over the place. And that went viral in less than 48 hours. It was viral. So it eliminates the fear. Although people in Colorado, the gun sales went up by 40% immediately.
Yes, did the gun lobby have something to do with this?
But the thing of it is that that was supposed to instill fear. And the problem is that there's too much digging. There's too many ways to find the information to call these asshats out on their false flag attacks. But I just find it very interesting that happened 7 days prior to the opening of the Olympics. 7 days.
Yeah, that is interesting.
What's the symbolism in that? You know, everything these people are doing is symbolic. And we need to release the fear, and we need to start paying attention, because my understanding is they always have to tell you what they're going to do before they do it. And I mean to tell you, if that performance at the Olympics didn't tell you something and what you need to get prepared for, then you're deaf, dumb, and blind.
You're absolutely right, Gwen. And I want to get into maybe what some of that symbology means. And to do that, I found a great article on World Truth TV. And I want to go over it with you, Gwen, because you've got a little more knowledge into this stuff than I do. It says, if you were scratching your head watching the Olympic opening ceremony and thinking to yourself, quote, what on earth does this have to do with the sport? Then you're not alone. If, on the other hand, you are like me and understand how these ancient bloodlines use the power of symbols and rituals to hypnotize the uninitiated, then you could still be in a state of bewilderment as to the sheer bluntness of last night's bloodline ritual masquerading as a sport event. From the moment of the opening countdown, which featured the number 9 on the London Red bus, and a musical soundtrack with some curious backmasking, it was obvious that much of this blatant symbolism would set the tone. The Bible is dominated by 2 cities. The most frequently mentioned city is Jerusalem, the city of God. Second to Jerusalem is Babylon, the city of man, mentioned over 250 times in the Bible. Babylon is the birthplace of false religions, black magic, and paganism. The name Nimrod roughly translates to rebel, and Babel is roughly translated to gateway to the gods. Mystery Babylon represents corruption. It's a very sophisticated counterfeit system and attempts to sell itself as an original. Quote, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and the abomination of the earth, Revelation 17.5. The scene was a British meadow with a tree that was raised on a hill. The first 2 songs played appeared to be subtly themed around Babylon and Jerusalem. Could the hill have represented the ancient Tower of Babylon? The Olympic ceremony opened with an orchestra playing Nimrod by Enigma Variations. King Nimrod was the world's first dictator as a builder of the Tower of Babel. He was considered to be the first and most excellent master of the Freemason fraternity. The original world order can be tracked back to Babylon, where King Nimrod was rebellious and resentful of God. He had a vision of heading a single global government to control the economic, political, and religious issues throughout the world. In order to prevent Nimrod implementing a new world order, Yahweh, God, confused the languages, causing the citizens to spread out and inhabit new lands. Mystery Babylon became fragmented, and the concept of a new world order died. The Maypole dance was shown within the first minutes of the ceremony, a traditional folk dance popular in Western Europe. Like so many adopted Western traditions, the Maypole dance is an ancient pagan worship. This fertility rite involves the Maypole, which represents the male principle. The ribbons represent the female principle, and the wreath at the top represents the Virgina of the goddess. Some researchers believe the Maypole dance can be traced as far back as ancient Babylon. So, I mean, how does this sound to you so far, Gwen?
Well, it sounds like exactly what Cliff High said about reproducing the history of the world.
Yep.
That all comes from the Old Testament, and so all of that Old Testament was nothing really but a history, for the most part, of what had already happened. So we already know that all of this had happened. So why are they rebirthing it in the Olympic ceremony? Okay, carry on.
It's very good. Now we bring in the Jerusalem factor. After the Olympic bell was rung, a song named Jerusalem was sung by a young boy before he was joined by a children's choir. Quote, and did those feet in ancient times walk upon England's mountains green? And why the holy Lamb of God on England's pleasant pastures seen? And did the countenance divine shine forth upon our clouded hills? And was Jerusalem builded here among these dark satanic mills? The children's choir continued to sing as men with mutton chops wearing traditional top hats and black suits gathered around a British meadow, a tree that was raised on a hill before Kenneth Branagh, dressed as Isambard Kingdom Brunel, a famous British engineer, read from Shakespeare's The Tempest. For Shakespeare's expert James Shapiro, an English professor at Columbia University, said it was a strange choice. Quote, why you would choose Caliban's lines as, in a sense, a kind of anthem for the Olympics, I'm not sure. Why give him the lines Shakespeare wrote for a half-man, half-beast? Magically, through Shakespeare's play, The Tempest, is a theme of the 2012 Olympic Games. A giant figure holding a wand thought to be Prospero from The Tempest, and a cauldron feature in stadium preparations for the opening ceremony. In The Tempest, travelers arrive at an island ruled by Prospero, the Magnus who has mastery over all nature. And Prospero's farewell to his art in the play is the bard's farewell to his work. In New Atlantis, the travelers arrive at an island ruled by a society called Solomon's House, which has achieved mastery over nature. New Atlantis depicts Bacon's vision of man's mastery over nature, and this work is a summing up and a farewell to Bacon's life work. Both works depict travelers who arrive at an island filled with wonders. In the first case, the wonders of science. In the second case, the wonders of magic, both of which give mastery over all nature. Bacon, it's important to note, said that science in its higher form is magic. The surface parallels between New Atlantis and The Tempest are obvious, but beneath the surface, there are more parallels and more specific identities between the two works. So many, in fact, that they provide strong evidence for Bacon's authorship of The Tempest. As both The Tempest and New Atlantis depicts societies ruled over by an elite, made gods by virtue of their secret knowledge, both works serve to define the occult philosophy of the Rosicrucians, Freemasons, and Illuminati. Bacon's alleged connection to the Rosicrucians and the Freemasons have been widely discussed by authors and scholars in many books, and a very good case can be made for him as the author of all Shakespeare's plays. Isn't that interesting, Gwen?
Yep.
As part of the Olympic occult ritual, the British sheeple are invited to participate in work number 1197. Those looking for numeric connections to 9/11 and 7/7 won't have to work too hard. Others may notice 1 + 1 + 9 + 7 = 18. Or you can break that down to 6 + 6 + 6. So work number 1197, all the bells in the country rung as quickly and as loudly as possible for 3 minutes by Turner Prize-winning artist and musician Martin Creed in a London 2012 festival commission, and will be performed by you. That's the description of work number 1197. So anyway, it goes on. It says, witches' altar bells have been used for centuries in spellcrafting. The ringing of a bell supposedly unleashes vibrations which have powerful effects. Some witches use bell for removing unwanted or negative energies, as well as calling in spirits. Interesting, but we'll get into that a little bit more, the whole symbology behind the bell and the ringing of a bell, when we come back after these messages. So sit tight, we'll be back with you in 3 minutes' time. Welcome back, my friends. You know, these evil bastards, they just don't... I wish I could find the words to explain to everybody that doesn't understand the power that is behind this and the reason why they go to such extremes to do this, what appears to be crazy off-the-wall crap. But that's the thing, is you really have to get your consciousness to evolve past the physical world and understand what it is they're doing. And this description of the bell here really, really, really kind of brings it home to give you an idea of exactly what it is and the symbology behind it all. But again, witches' altar bells have been used for centuries in spellcrafting. The ring of a bell supposedly unleashes vibrations which have powerful effects. Some witches use bells for removing unwanted or negative energies, as well as calling in spirits. The bell is often used to invoke the goddess in Wiccan witchcraft ritual. Say that 5 times fast. Good night. Bells are rung during rituals to signal the beginning or end of a spell. The outer portion of a bell is referred to as the female. The hammer is seen as the male. Ringing a bell signifies and celebrates an occasion of a moment in time, clears and purifies that space for this time. Also, by ringing a bell, perception and awareness can be altered. Wiccan bells are rung to outline portions of rituals and celebrations. The UK national bell ringing ritual is to take place at 8:12 a.m. on 27 July. Of course, that took place 2 days ago, the day of the 2012 Olympic opening ceremony. A start time of 8:12 a.m. is unusual, to say the least. Ian R. Crane speculates that it is the reverse of 12/8. 12 August is British date format when the Olympic closing ceremony takes place. Members of the occult are known to write backwards as a secret sign to others initiates, and 12 August may be a particularly significant date for them. Bells are to be rung continuously for 3 minutes or 3 times 60 seconds. 666. The BBC reports on preparations for the event, and it is brought to you from Devil's Bridge in Wales. Continuing the bell ringing theme, it has been announced that the opening ceremony for the London Olympics will begin with the ringing of the world's largest tuned bell. The precedent for a bell being cast, especially for an Olympic opening ceremony, is the 1936 Berlin Games in Nazi Germany. What a coincidence. A 27-ton bell is being produced especially for £27 million. Opening ceremony on 27 July. Someone was keen on the number 27, which is significant in religion, philosophy, and the occult. In keeping with the magical satanic theme, musical directors of the Olympic ceremony are Underworld, the British electronic music duo comprised of Rick Smith and Carl Hyde. The London Olympic bell is to be inscribed with the words, "Be not afeared, the isle is full of noises," taken from Shakespeare's play The Tempest. The phrase is spoken in the play by Caliban, who is forced into servitude after Prospero and his cohorts occupy the island. Prospero considers Caliban to be literally spawn of the devil. And many theater productions, they portray Caliban as a monster. The bloodline families have placed their symbols all over the 2012 Olympics from the outset. The lighted torch, or the flame of illumination, is an ancient symbol of the Illuminati, representing the hidden knowledge that has been withheld from the human race at large and known only to the initiates of the mystery schools. Sir Evelyn de Rothschild, the Rothschilds, yes, they rear their ugly heads again, made sure he got it on the act last year when he was photographed holding the Olympic torch, or the flame of illumination. Moreover, the word Zion was clearly discernible in the Olympic logo. For those of you who do not know what Zion means, it is the political agenda to establish the state of Israel in Palestine and a new Jerusalem or New World Order. The goal of the esoteric cabal that coordinates the Zionist agenda is the creation of a one-world government. This was referenced in the ceremony by the forging of the 5 rings, representing the 5 continents of the earth coming together under the auspices of a global supranational authority. The term Israel is really Israel, the amalgamation of the ancient Egyptian and Canaanite deities of Ra, Isis, and El. The ruling bloodlines originate from Sumeria, Babylon, Canaan, and Egypt. They were the original adherents of the mystery cults, the ancient priest class, and pharaohs. They became the European royal bloodlines and the Venetian banking oligarchs. A major symbol of the ruling bloodline families is the pyramid in the all-seeing eye. Gwen, how just blatant was that?
Oh, I know, and they illuminated the eye on the top. That is so free. Oh, my God. If I would have been there, honest to God, I couldn't have run far and fast enough from that place.
Right, and of course, this represents the wisdom and knowledge that only the initiated or the illuminated have access to. The most famous use of this symbol is to be found on the Great Seal of the United States. It is a symbol commonly found in Masonic lodges all over the world and dates back at least to ancient Egypt. In the depiction on the Great Seal, the pyramid has 13 steps, the sacred 12 and 1. If you were paying attention last night, you would have recognized that the Olympic Stadium floodlights are, in fact, depictions of the all-seeing eye, as indeed are the Olympic mascots. And, of course, if you count them, guess what, Gwen? There are 13.
There's 13.
Yes. So They're illuminating the stadium with the light from the eyes, and there are 13 of them. And if you go to this, I'm going to put this link in the chat room for everybody else. And in the archive, I will post this in the description box. But you should see these pictures. I mean, this is just, you cannot dispute what your eyes are trying to tell you right now. So understand that. The ceremony itself, in large part, was a narrative of the development of modern human history. The ceremony told the story of how Britain's green and pleasant land was transformed by the Industrial Revolution and the dark satanic mills, from William Blake's poem. Everything from the emancipation of women to the 20th century wars, the establishment of national health, and finally, to the modern digital age was covered, all overseen by 13 all-seeing eyes, representing the 13 ruling bloodlines of the Illuminati. In other words, they were telling us that they have been the controlling force behind the development of our history. By far the darkest part of the ceremony was the NHS scene, national health, involving what appeared to be a mock child sacrifice to a giant hooded entity. This clearly has echoes of the cremation of care ritual at the Bohemian Grove, in which an effigy of a child is sacrificed to Moloch, a giant 40-foot stone owl. The other children in the hospital beds were then pursued by smaller dark entities, creepy and disturbing to say the least. The ceremony culminated with the Olympic cauldron rising into the air and transforming into a giant flaming eye, very much like the Eye of Sauron from The Lord of the Rings. The 2012 opening ceremony was an occult ritual thinly disguised as a major sporting event. When the 23-ton bell was struck, the ruling bloodlines officially declared the beginning of their esoteric New World Order. I'll tell you, Gwen, this is definitely something that needs more discussion. It needs more outrage. I mean, this is just as blatant as you get. They're saying to you, ha ha ha, slave, we control everything.
Well, I don't know what to say. The other thing that I find really interesting with this display, this disgusting display of evil, is that in the Illuminati game cards, there is a card, not only of the Twin Towers being hit.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, all kinds of things, but there is an Illuminati card for the London Olympics.
Yes, there is.
And this game came out, I don't know, I think these cards were, I think they came out in 1993, 5, something like that.
Yeah, it'd been around a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just really unnerving just to see how blatant they are and obviously these cards are not benign because it's just one thing after another. And even though there was no death, I mean, we don't know because the Olympics aren't over, but assuming there are no deaths there, the ritual of death went on as if it were real, nevertheless. And that went into the psyche of how many millions of people?
Countless. Really, when you think about it. It has to be the most televised event. It happens once every 4 years. And isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting that the 2012...
But you know, Joe, this isn't... I mean, this is so in our faces now. They're not even covert about what they're doing anymore. I mean, look at the Rose Bowl, a halftime show. American Idol, for God's sakes. I mean, it is freaking everywhere.
That's right. Hold on. Hour number 1 is done. Hour number 2 is on the way. When we come back, Popeye joins the discussion so we can have a little three-way. Orion Talk Radio, so sign up and check it out. See what we have to say. Of course, I got the main tweet artist over here now, Popeye. If you see a tweet, chances are it comes from him because I'm technology challenged when it comes to the whole Twitter crap. I think I've had the same 24 followers on mine since 1987. of course, hasn't been around since then. What's up, dude?
I was about to ask you, was Twitter even around in 1987? Maybe instantly.
Yeah, it was probably some sort of like bulletin board system, or
That was the original social media right there.
Those were the days. Those were the days. We'll be retired, wearing our white shoes, sitting in Burger King, drinking our senior coffee, talking about the bulletin board system. I remember.
I'll never be drinking coffee from Burger King ever.
Shut up, man. They're the senior small coffee. You get them cheap, man.
Does it say beware hot beverage on the lid, to make sure you don't burn yourself?
Shouldn't matter.
You wouldn't want to get sued.
Yes, that's right. I can't believe it. It was too hot. Really?
Right. Like,
really? Your coffee's too hot.
Can I ask you a question? What did the lady expect when she went to McDonald's to get a cup of coffee? It's not like you're going to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts.
Perhaps she expected a lukewarm coffee, which is basically the atmosphere of the world. Of course, if I was a traditional sheep person, then, I'd be lukewarm. Hence, I would probably like my coffee lukewarm. Just saying. That's the attitude. Ain't that right, Gwen? Isn't that the attitude? I mean, people are just, well, you know what? That's really cool-looking pyramids up there. I mean, seriously.
Yep. Oh, well, you like all the all-seeing eye?
Holy crap, dude.
I told you, right? I sent you that one photo.
Stadium lights.
Dude, I sent you that one photo, and I was like, Joe, look at this. And you're like, because you hadn't seen it yet. And I was like, just look at this and tell me if you see anything. Anything stands out to you.
Man, honestly, I just had a revelation. Seriously. I knew that. Okay, I remember the all-seeing eye BS at the Super Bowl. But I couldn't believe it. When I saw that picture on that website of the stadium, those pyramids and the 13 eyes, that's the stadium lighting. I mean, how freaking blatant. It's not like a part in the play. They're lighting the whole event is being lit by these 13 all-seeing eyes.
Yeah, and how many again? Say the number one more time. So
say that again. 1, 3, 13. That's Dreizehn in German. Oh.
But that's just coincidence.
Joseph getting all crazy with you now.
And by the way, you guys were talking about last hour, bells and the symbolism of the bell.
Yes.
I thought it very important to bring up the fact that there is a demon named Baal that these a-holes worship.
Isn't that the name? Isn't Baal like the Baal worship is an ancient? That's an ancient.
Mm-hmm. It goes back thousands of years.
Baal is huge, man. That's huge in the.
Why do you think when you get out of jail? Mark Passio and I have talked about this. Why do you think when you get out of jail you have to pay Baal? Who do you think you're making a sacrifice to? Who do you think?
Yeah, make it for the devil.
Exactly.
Holy crap!
Yeah, bingo! It just made lights go off in your head, didn't it?
Popeye, it's just a coincidence.
Yeah. Right, and we have the Liberty Bell. There's a ton of bell symbolism. You'll see bells used in a lot of secret societies and stuff. It's they know what it really means. They understand what the symbolism is for. A lot of time, not every time. I'm sure some lowly guy just wanting, hey, the Liberty Bell, that looks like an iconic symbol. Not all the time, but these big companies, corporations, like I was telling you, Glock. You know what Glock means, right? Glock means bell in German. So everybody's running. What's the world's most popular handgun right now? Baal, the demon.
It's pretty cool, man. I mean, when you look back and you see just the symbology and everything, it really just goes to show you how programmed our society is by these ancient orders. And I mean, Gwen, I would never have said that. I mean, even when I first started this, I never would have believed it. And even today, I still have a problem wrapping my arms around this whole thing. To think that this has been a plan that's been played out basically since the beginning of civilization. It's unbelievable.
Yep. It goes back a long ways. And, I think about the people who are involved, like every little podunk town in South Dakota has a Masonic temple. it's just creepy. They're just creepy to me. But I don't think the lower level Masons, I don't think the people who are, trying to be part of a business fraternity or, whatever, I don't think they really realize the evil involved behind all of the symbology, the rites and the significance of what they're doing until they're way up the ladder. And most of them never get there because it's just a social event to them. It's a business event. It's a business club,
Well, not only that, but you should probably cheap drinks, go out, hang out with your buddies. The lower level guys, they don't understand it, Gwen. They don't get it. They don't get how much of pawns they are in this whole thing.
I want to tell you something. Back in the day, a man came to my house, and he told me that he had an old leather-bound book of all the Mason ceremonies and their protocols and all of that. And at that time, I wasn't real aware of what the Masons were, and I kept going, nobody can be that evil. This is just benign. And he said, I'm going to bring you that book. So he brought me the book. It was a thick leather-bound book, an old book, probably from the late 1700s, early 1800s. And it was thick. And I started reading that thing. I was absolutely horrified at just the oaths. The oaths that they take are horrifying. But so another friend of mine came over, and I was talking to him about the Masons, and I'm going, man, these people are just evil. And he's like, my dad's a Mason. And I said, well, look at this. And I showed him the book, and I showed him what it said and what the oath was that they took. And I mean, the next morning, I had men in black sitting outside my house. And until that book left my house, those people, those two men in their black car, in their black suits, sat there to intimidate me, I'm sure. But ultimately, I'm sure to follow the journey of that book. It's unbelievable, the stuff in that book. And this is not stuff that you go down to the library and check out on the Masons. I mean, this was like the Masonic Bible. Scary stuff. Scottish rites.
Yeah.
Masonic. Unbelievable. And if people think that there is not evil in the world, and if they think that these people are benign and that they don't have an agenda, they're comatose.
That's right. And you know that in this whole opening ceremony, you had black and white Masonic costumes all over the place. And this guy writes, he says, what really got me was the tribute to the national healthcare system. Hundreds of doctors and nurses wheeling children in on hospital beds, a Mary Poppins invasion, and the creation of what one commentator called a giant Franken baby. I'm not quite sure what to make of this. Everyone is facing the giant baby's head as if in reverence. Could it be Tammuz, the reincarnation of Nimrod and the first Antichrist? Why does it have a body? Or why doesn't it have a body? Are we seeing the birth of a star child, just like the one in Stanley Kubrick's depicted in his classic film? Is this signaling some kind of birth? Whatever it's meant to convey, the message surely comes off as creepy. And that's it. That one scene with all of the people in hospital beds and that big demon overhead. I mean, that was just.
You know who that demon is, do you not?
No, I'm not. No,
I'll give you one guess. You have children.
Voldemort.
That's exactly who it is.
Really?
Yes, it's Voldemort. Do you see how they? Do you see how? No, it's Voldemort. And do you see how they merge reality with like fiction and stuff? And yes. Voldemort's name, if I remember correctly, I have to look this up, but I believe it means like Voldemort. I believe it actually literally translated means lover of death. Like, or death
well,
lover,
it's like funny. My 12-year-old said, "Oh, that's Voldemort," and I said, "That is evil."
Get out of here, really? Okay, so he said that?
Yeah, and I said, "No, that's evil. That is death. That is sickening, and it has no place there." And he goes, "I'm telling you, Mom, it's Baltimore." And I said,
"That's right.
That is."
Your kid's on point, Glenn.
Well, hold that thought, Glenn. We're going to break. Folks, is the picture a symbol of what's to come? Their diabolical plans to use genocide on the masses and keep many asleep? Welcome back, folks. Joe Joseph Popeye and Gwen Caldwell going over this Olympic opening ceremony. And, Gwen, bring up what we were talking about during the break. You said about, the use of sperm in the opening ceremony as well.
Right. There was the path that they took formed the shape of a sperm. And so obviously it's about bringing life to something. You've got the all-seeing eye, you've got the baby, you've got the depths, you've got, it is so unbelievable. All of it. Each one singly is massive. But to have them all combined, it's just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. Now, there was 3 times, this word gosh, right, was in there. And it shows up 3 times in the Old Testament under old prophetic, these are prophetic passages. So Jeremiah 16:6, both great and small shall die in this land. They shall not be buried, neither shall men lament for them, nor cut themselves, nor make themselves bald for them. And then baldness is come on Gaza. Ashkelon is brought to nothing. The remnant of their valley, how long will you cut yourself? And then finally, Hosea 7:14 is, they have cried to me with their heart, but they howl on their beds. They assemble themselves for grain and new wine. They turn away from me. It's interesting how these 3 passages kind of show up, and it's all surrounding that word. There's symbolism everywhere. How about the burning rings?
Right. That's from Ezekiel 1:16. The King James Version says, the appearance of the wheels and their work was like unto the color of a beryl, and they 4 had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as if it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. And then Ezekiel 10:10 from the King James Version, as for their appearance, they 4 had one likeness, as if a wheel had been in the midst of a wheel. And when you look down on top of the Olympic Stadium, it almost looks like an inverted flying saucer, but it has the rings.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's unbelievable. And then this whole the whole Hey Jude moment, when they had him out, the song Hey Jude should prompt us to take a look at what God has to say about our day and age through his servant Jude in the book of Jude. Check it out. I mean, this is crazy stuff. They had the aircraft overhead with the red, white, and blue chemtrails that they were throwing out, right? And, of course, a good question is, would a government use chemtrails against its own people without their knowledge?
Well, of course they would.
Yeah, especially if, like I was saying, this Ebola thing. Pay very close attention, folks. For those of you that missed hour number 1, there's an outbreak of Ebola in Uganda. Ebola is also known as hemorrhagic fever. It's a very, very deadly form, or deadly virus that very deadly when it's released on the public. And so they're having an outbreak of this in Uganda. And isn't it interesting that we have all this going on, massive hospital beds with Voldemort over top of them and everything else. It would take nothing for them to release an Ebola type of virus by using chemtrails or aerosol dispersals and spread it out and then just say, well, this humanitarian worker from Uganda brought it back with him on the plane. Really? So just keep your eyes and ears open for that and pay close attention to who's going over there. That's your homework assignment. So, guys, I mean, this is all very crazy stuff. And then couple that with the fact that there are many articles now talking about DHS gearing up for civil unrest. And I mean, we see it. It's happening. So And I want to get into more in the last half an hour on the civil unrest thing, because there's a lot that goes into that. There's a whole reason why the United States is being targeted here. I mean, we are it, and they know it. We are the hope of the world, and the world knows it. And when the United States falls and they try to disarm us, and anybody that goes along with it, you're asking what you get. You're asking for what you get. You cannot consent. You cannot participate. You have to withdraw yourself. And you cannot give up your firearms. Don't do it. The cybersecurity bill has a rider on it. And that rider, if approved, would make illegal high-capacity magazines. The definition of a high-capacity magazine in this bill is anything over 10 rounds. So all of your 100-round mags for your AR-15s or your 20 and 30-round AK mags, all that stuff, illegal. You know, Popeye, how do you respect a governing body that has no respect for the law?
Oh, well, I don't respect them. I don't have any respect for them. I have nothing but contempt for them. And they can put that down in their little record. I have nothing but contempt for it. Government literally means control of the mind, so.
Yeah, but Gwen, I mean, why do so many people continue to stay subservient to them when it's blatantly obvious that they don't have the people's interest at heart?
Well, I'll tell you why, because they don't know the history of this country. They don't know that we have a corporation that we call a government, a foreign corporation, no less. And they're so sucked into their entitlement kit that they can't snap their head away from the kit long enough to see the daylight. That's why.
Yep, no, well, you got to think that there's got to be some sort of stimuli out there that would snap them out of the history doesn't really.
Oh, well, I have talked about this how many times? Where's the outrage? What's it going to take for people to wake up?
I know.
I really believe that they'll get their doors kicked in, and the minute their doors come in, they'll willfully and graciously hand their guns over. I don't even think they'll fight it. And I think the corporation knows it for the most part.
The Revolutionary War had just that happen. You know, we fought that over a 3% tax, 3 cents on the dollar. And the problem is that people's doors were getting kicked in, and the majority of them let it happen. It was only a very, very small minority that actually gave a shit about it and actually made a difference. But we're seeing the same thing right now. It's a very small minority of people like you, the people listening to this broadcast, that care enough about yourselves, your family, and the future of your children to want to do something about it.
Well, you know, I heard something one time that really resonated with me. The reason we have a Second Amendment is for when they abuse the other amendments.
That's right.
And this idea that we have to be afraid of our government, that they have control and power over us. The Constitution of the United States did not give the government any power, no power. It gave people the power. It gave government duties and obligations to the people. They have no control over us except with our consent.
That's
Period.
Right. And another break hits us. Holy crap, this show's flying by, folks. Don't go away. We'll talk about what DHS is doing, trying to gear up for possible civil unrest before this coming election. I think the election's just an... Okay, folks, so before we get into this whole DHS thing, I just want to bring this up. This really chapped my hide. Justice Antonin Scalia, one of the Supreme Court's most vocal and conservative justices, said on Sunday that the Second Amendment... Now strap yourselves into your seats, folks, because you may end up like falling out of your chair.
The Second Amendment leaves room for U.S. legislatures to regulate guns, including menacing handheld weapons. Quote, it will have to be decided in future cases, so Scalia said. But there were legal precedents from the days of the Founding Fathers that banned frightening weapons, which a constitutional originalist like me himself must recognize. There were also locational limitations on where weapons could be carried. Let me just say this to you folks. We as a society have always focused too much on precedent and not enough on the rule of law. The rule of law says that we have the right to bear arms, and that most importantly, out of that whole Second Amendment, this right shall not be infringed. What the freaking hell does that mean? Does that mean, oh, well, yes, of course, the U.S. can legislate the regulate guns? I fail to see the correlation between this right shall not be infringed. I mean, you'd think a Supreme Court justice would get it through his thick freaking skull. He's supposed to be like the most expert of experts when it comes to constitutionality, yet here we have the Second Amendment, and it says specifically, this right shall not be infringed. But, it leaves it open for the U.S. to be able to regulate guns. All because starting soon after we gained independence, people kind of started veering off the road, veering off the rule of law road, and doing this. So because they did it, because they jumped off the bridge, we must all follow them. Instead of saying, oh, hell no, this has been wrong now for 220 plus years. We need to go back to the way it's supposed to be. We need to follow and respect the rule of law. Yet these asshats won't do that. And it's got me freaking pissed off, because it's now why you have DHS gearing up for civil unrest. And this is all part of it. Let's put a rider on that bill there, that cybersecurity bill, to take away all the high-capacity magazines. We may not be able to take their guns away, but we sure will limit what they can fire.
Who are they protecting?
That's a good question. See, that's these idiots don't even realize what they're doing. Gwen, it's like it's the evil villain, right? In most movies, what happens to the lackey after he's done good bidding for the boss? He normally gets
throw him away. They throw him away. He's nothing. He's gone.
Right.
What happened to Nazi Germany? I mean, look at history. They're useful idiots for the moment, and then they're disposable.
That's right. You're absolutely right. And so these people are just being complicit with the agenda, thinking that, oh, well, if I do that, I'm on the right side. When you know what? You're going to end up getting a new pair of cement shoes like the rest of them. Don't think that you're immune or above this. Don't think that you're safe, Mr. Law Enforcement guy or civil servant, whoever you are. When you play their game, you are not immune or safe from them.
No, it makes them more expendable because they've got the goods.
That's right. So
they run a higher risk.
RT today. Well, go ahead, Gwen. Finish your thought.
Oh, no, I just wanted to ask you, Joe, when we have, 1.5 million police officers, 1.5 million National Guard members, 9 million, military personnel, most of who are out of the country, and yet we have, over 300 million guns in the hands of the American people. There's a bit of an imbalance there, and if they think that all of us are going to be willful subjects in gun confiscation, or we're going to be willful in complying with their insanity, they're sadly mistaken. And most people who carry guns, I would say, are the more conservative types, the Republican types, the church people, the militias, the preppers, those kind of people. Well, Mark Potok in the Southern Poverty Law Center rammed up the rear end of the Department of Homeland Security, have made us an enemy of the state. We're the bad guys. We're the terrorists. Well, all the while we've had TSA groping us for years at airports, now at train stations and bus depots. They've not found or stopped one terrorist. So all of this terrorism and all these boogeymans that are out there that they create to instill fear in us, so we'll allow them to do this, is pure insanity. The only terrorists that have guns are the terrorists that they've given the guns to. They being the corporation of the United States. So, Joe, where do you draw the line? When do people realize that they're being lied to and buffaloed about who the enemy is?
That's a good
question. Come on, people.
I've been asking myself that for a long time, as I'm sure many of the listeners out there scratch their heads saying, come on, how can they not see this crap, But, you think about this. Department of Homeland Security is exactly that. It's a domestic organization. It's not like it's the Department of Homeland Security in Israel or in Syria or in Iran or anywhere else. It's here. So the question has to be asked, why does DHS need 450 million rounds of 40 caliber hollow point ammunition?
Why do we have a agency called the Department of Homeland Security? The last person that used the term homeland was Adolf Hitler.
See, Kyle. Right.
I'm not kidding. I'm not just saying that. Some people like to reference Hitler and the Nazis.
There's history to it.
Every gun owner is the Department of Homeland Security in this country. All it is a usurpation of power and control. Period. End of subject. Bottom line.
And then ask yourself this, Gwen. How come you're buying all these bulletproof checkpoint booths?
Oh, yeah. Well, let's see. I'm sure that we're going to have people in brown shirts with swastikas on their arm manning those soon enough.
Well, maybe not as overt as that, but certainly, there has to be a reason why. Just like
all their illegal checkpoints, all their illegal sobriety.
The graveliners.
They're already doing it. But now people are getting pissed off about it, and they're confronting them. And so now they want to hide behind bulletproof glass to harass, intimidate, and otherwise compromise the patriotic Americans of this country.
Right. And it just goes to show you how cowardly they are, how absolutely cowardly these people are, that they need to take your guns away. Because God forbid you fight on an even ground, right? God forbid you do that. Because
Joe, it's not to, in South Dakota, if someone comes into your home, you can use reasonable force to stop an attack.
What's reasonable?
But you cannot, if some guy's coming in your house and all you have is an iron skillet and you bang him in the head and he falls on the floor, you call 911, and that's reasonable. However, if after you've banged him in the head and he's passed out on your floor, you cannot take out your 9mm and unload your magazine in the guy's back.
Can you keep bashing him in the head with your skillet until he's...
That is excessive force. But what the ammunition, Joe, that they're ordering is not to stop a threat to anybody in their department. It is to blow a big, giant hole through these people and end their lives. They have no intention of taking you to trial for any infraction you might have.
I want to put this out to folks, and of course, this is not a sponsor or anything like this, but if you guys go to thesportsmansguide.com, this is the only place I've seen it. But if you're having problems getting hollow point munitions for your weapon, for your handgun, for your rifle, for anything that you need, they actually have a kit that they sell there. It's about $20. And you can You take the bullet, and it will actually give you the right drill bit and how to hold it, and you can make your bullet a hollow point. It's an actual hollow point conversion kit for full metal jacket ammo. So by doing that, it does two things. A, you can buy ammo a lot cheaper because you can make hollow points out of the standard round, but with the... Well, as the Freedom Links Conspiracy Chronicles rides off into the sunset for this evening, I'd like to invite you all to continue to listen in as Ken Hildebrand kicks off his broadcast, The Information Nation, here on the Orion Talk Radio Network. So don't forget to tune in to that. And, boy, I'll tell you guys, it seems like we're coming into the perfect storm. I mean, this has been the plan for quite some time, is to kind of engineer this thing in such a fashion to where you've got the economy working on you at one front, you got the police state working at you from another front, you got the threat of a pandemic coming down from you. I mean, it seems to me as though you got to be very careful not to get tunnel vision on one particular thing, because anything can hit you at any time from anywhere. Ain't that right, Gwen?
Yep, and I think you can expect it. I think you can expect one domino after another to start collapsing right in front of your very eyes. Buckle up.
Heck yeah. I mean, you cover this stuff all the time on your show there, Papa. I mean, this is some, I mean, do you think that this year is the year that we officially kick off, I guess you could say, or something happens in that it changes society as we know it for a long time to come?
Well, I mean, society is already changed as we know it for a long time to come. A lot of people, I think they keep waiting for something big to happen, and they don't realize it's happening.
It's happening
every day. It's just happening on such a slow scale that people aren't really paying attention. I mean, now it's ramping up, so they're forced to show their hand a little bit.
Yeah.
5 years ago, if you talked about global world government, they would go, "Oh, you're a kook, you're a conspiracy theorist." Now you have like the World Bank going around and everybody, all these other agencies talking about world government, and it would be better for everything if we just had one world banking system controlled by a certain group of individuals, and because they know better. It was people that couldn't afford loans to begin with that got us into this mess. Poor people buying houses for themselves. You shouldn't have owned that house, poor person. When in reality, it was the banks, giving. There was a lot of corruption. It was being steered that way.
Yeah,
they purposely did it, and then they blame the poor people, just like when they rigged the election and they blame the old people in Florida. Come on, time for people to wake up. And do I believe that there's any definite time frame? I don't. I believe they had a time frame. They wanted this all in place by the millennium, by 2000. So they're already behind. Could it happen this year? Yeah, I guess it could.
I mean,
it's good to be
possible.
Yeah, dude. I mean, anything could happen. Honestly, I say be prepared, get ready. And part of that preparation is education. You have to know what they're capable of so that you can see what's going on. Otherwise, you're just going to fall for the crap. Oh, my God.
That's right. Even if you're not an avid reader, become one now. There's plenty of documentation on federaljack.com to help you understand where things are. The library's still up, ain't it, dude?
Yep, they can download a ton of stuff. It's there.
Okay, good. So, yeah, I mean, check it out, because you need to become as educated as humanly possible in the shortest amount of time possible. It just is that way. I mean, do you want to continue? Just imagine how it's going to be when your kids grow up. I mean, the next generation is going to have their hands full. Look at our generation. God bless it. I mean, I didn't think it would get much worse than, what Bushy did to advance the agenda. But damn, I mean, Obama has taken it there and then some.
But it's
And
not
of course,
just him.
It doesn't matter who it is, right?
Well, it's not even about the Illuminati or this or that or anybody in charge. It's about the idiots that are willing to do this.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are making this happen. If they turned around tomorrow and said, we're not going to do this, it's over. That's how fast it would be over, okay? That's it. Done. But no, they're the ones that are doing it. So to all the police and military and, corrections, whatever, sheriffs that buy into this and are like, yeah, all about the police state. Not the ones that are awake, the good ones, but the ones that buy into this, yeah, it's cool. I don't care about martial law. I'll do it. I'll shoot citizens and stuff like that. Really? Just remember, karma is a bitch, okay? And if you think that they're not going to do the same thing to you and that they're not going to have any use for you when they're done with you and that they're not going to throw you away, you're severely mistaken. I suggest you pull your heads out of your collective rear ends and stop it. What are you going to tell your kids in the future? Mommy, Daddy, what did you do when humanity was falling and the earth became a police state? And
I was swinging from a tree because...
No, I wasn't doing it. I was swinging people from the trees. That's what they're going to tell their kids. I was helping round people up.
Yeah, damn right. I'd say, yeah, see that little hill over there? Yeah, that's the mass grave of all the people that swung from my rope.
Well, that's what they'll be telling their kids, but it won't be tyrants that were swinging. It'll be innocent people.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's
Popeye. What do you see, Popeye, as being the chain of events that as you think they'll unfold here in the next few months?
Well, I mean, if they continue with what they're doing with the banks and stuff, things are just going to collapse. I mean, we have to stop.
What about a food shortage?
Well, that could happen too. Well, there's a food that a lot of people don't realize, but the fall is going to be rough for food and food prices and beef prices. Right now, the beef prices are artificially low because and they're going to even go lower. You'll see sales and stuff on meat at the food store. And if you eat meat, I would go out and buy it and throw it in freezer bags and store it right now while you can on sale, because come fall, the beef prices are going to go up, and that's because of this drought, but a lot because what's happening is these ranchers are selling off all their steer heads.
Yeah,
they
have to. They can't afford to feed them.
They can't afford to feed them, so they're getting rid of them. And right now, it's flooding the market with beef, so that the prices will go down because there's a lot of it. But once those cows are gone, where's the beef? Literally,
where's the beef?
Where's the beef? So now there's going to be less beef because all this, they're thinning out the herds. Yeah. So in about 4 or 5 months, there's going to be not even, maybe like 3.5, 4 months, there's going to be a lot less cattle, a lot less corn. There's already a lot less corn because of this drought. Mike Murphy was talking to me about this when I interviewed him last week. They're dicking with the weather, and they're causing this drought. You know they could make it rain. You know they could make it pour and make the plants grow 10 feet tall if they wanted to.
Why, there's no such thing as chemtrails.
Yeah, Google. Yeah, to all the skeptics, I say Google weather modification.
I had somebody come on my tribute video to Griff, AC Griffith, the guy that helped break the story of the whole chemtrail thing in the 90s, and he was like, I've debunked this stuff for years. And, of course, he's from Australia. And so he says, I haven't seen any scientific evidence. So, of course, I sent him scientific evidence directly from the United States government. The horse's mouth itself.
And he probably denied it.
He didn't answer. And promptly erased the comment that I put on his YouTube channel.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
He's obviously a troll. He's not in this
right.
for any education. He's just a troll. And dude, to the people that don't even want to believe that they're spraying. Okay, if you don't want to watch Mike Murphy's movie, which I suggest you do. Why? Because I've seen this. I've seen it. I have a screener copy of it, and it's a really good movie. But if you don't watch that, just look up the fact that the Arabs are making it rain in the middle of the desert, and they're growing grass where grass hasn't grown for like 100 years.
Yep.
And they're making it green and plants. But I'm a conspiracy theorist, right? I pull all of this out of my butt. But they're actually doing it.
Yeah, if you just pay attention. I mean, this is not...
that they do it. They
make no secret about it. This is no secret.
No. So they could make it rain. So this drought, and I asked Mike, he said that it's being induced by them on purpose, and it's so that they can, screw with the food prices and everything else. You got to remember, a lot of times they bet on futures. Okay, just like your buddy Salente, he bet on the gold futures, and then he got bit in the ass. Well, they bet on food futures, right? Well, how can they guarantee that they won't lose? Well, if you control the weather, and they trade weather over at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. They literally trade weather, Joe.
Yes, well, they have to.
Well, but think about it. If they're trading
what else is there to bet on these days?
But if they're trading it like that, that means that they have some level of control over it, or else they wouldn't be trading on it.
That's right. No, I'm right there with you, man. I mean, yeah, that's why I say the dumbing down of America was such an integral part of this whole plan. It really was. You had to make the people stupid, and then you go about doing this. And you and your interview there with Charlotte Iserby was fantastic because it's true. They could not get away with it unless they systematically dumbed down the populace. And now they just don't give a flying crap what's going on. They just believe anything they're spoon-fed. Like Vilsack, the Secretary of Agriculture, saying, no worries. Why, food only makes up 14 cents out of every dollar of the manufacture of goods. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, until it doubles in price, and then it makes up...
there's no food to put in it, then what?
Then it doubles in price, and it makes up 28 cents of the dollar. And then it doubles in price and makes, what's 28? That's what...
That's right. Well, hey, guys, we're out of time. We's out of time. Folks, stay tuned for the Information Nation here on the Orion Talk Radio Network. It's been a pleasure talking to each and every one of you out in Radio Land tonight. So until Tuesday evening at 10 p.m. Eastern, I bid you all adieu.